Alright guys, another Lions draft pick breakdown here for you. We talked about Tyrion Arnold the other day, Ennis Rakestraw now from Missouri. Lions go corner back-to-back versus second round. Something we actually talked about as possible, right? We talked about, maybe the idea that Detroit would address corner twice in this draft. We didn't necessarily think maybe it would be back-to-back like that, but, whatever. Any way you can get them. I think these are two starting corners, Arnold and Rakestraw both. Rakestraw is a press guy. That's his deal. You can see right here off the top against Georgia, gets that arm in there and just rides this guy out. Super competitive in your shorts, like a really good on-the-ball defender in basketball. Likes to get his his hands dirty in the run game. Will stick his nose in there, of course. Not always the most disciplined tackler. Can sometimes be over-aggressive with some of that, but not afraid of anything, even though he's pretty light and pretty small at about 185. I think he was 187 at his pro day. This is really good here. This is really good right here. Press man corner with good eyes. You can see where his eyes get into the backfield, and he gets right back to the receiver. Hand on, knows where he's going, and he snaps it. There's nothing this guy can do. That's really good coverage across the board there, all the way. And this is a confident player who, if you're going to play man coverage, and the Lions want to do this a lot, I think, with split safeties, give him help over the top, because that is kind of the one thing. The one knock on him that, some people talked about in Indianapolis, maybe he would be a guy at 21 years old that, is a first-round talent. I think the reason why most people didn't have him as a first-round talent was more of a second-round grade. I think maybe a fringe first and second-round grade on some boards. Dane had him number 49 overall. Is two reasons. He had injuries. He had an ACL in 2021. Actually missed some games with a groin last year too. And then speed in general, long speed especially, is just not very good. So he's not going to be a guy that is going to run with people, or be on the fastest receiver or whatever it might be. You're going to have to sort of move him around and try to work around some of those deficiencies within this, scheme of the defense. But everything else about his game is pretty outstanding, including his attitude, his feistiness, and here we go, same thing at Arnold, right? Get up there, go hit a guy, make a play, get off the field. Like, this is a mentally tough football player that is going to be able to be leaned on in tough situations and not fall apart. I wrote this the other day. The reason why Aaron Glenn, I think, often went with corners that we looked at and said, this is a less talented player than what you probably could get elsewhere, or maybe even what you had on the roster, was because those guys, Jerry Jacobs is one that comes to mind, are pretty mentally tough players. A guy that he would forget a mistake, move on from it, deposit it, and then, be able to hang in there and not make a mental error. Eventually, that sort of fell apart for him. He lost his confidence and everything else, and they obviously had to move on from him. But they had a really hard time here finding corners that could handle the sort of style of coaching that Aaron Glenn has, but also just the style that you have to, the mental attitude that you have to play corner in the NFL. And we said Arnold has it. I believe Rakestraw has it as well. Here's some of the stuff, right here, the shuffle feet right there, as you can see, coming out of the break. There's not a lot. He's got a, shuffle stop. There's not a lot of put the foot down and explode out. But again, eventually, he's going to come up and hit you. It's not going to be any free passes. You got to earn everything you get with him. I like this guy a lot. I did not think he was a first-round corner. That's why I kept telling people I don't think that the Lions are going to pick at 29. I think if their guy, Arnold or Mitchell, wasn't there at 29, they were going to try and get out. Obviously, in the 20s, as we said, they were there, so you go up and you get one. But even, to get both of them, I think is outstanding. I thought that maybe they would take one in the first and one in the third or fourth. I didn't care what they had to give up, obviously, in the first, and then to be able to do this and sit there at 61. To get Enis, that's outstanding. I think both these guys are starting corners in the NFL. I think both these guys played inside and outside in college, so both can have roles immediately in this situation. They're long-term and short-term players who I think will be in the mix for Detroit, more long-term as they go. Of course, I think it allows Brian Branch to get some more time at safety, as Detroit wants to sort of allow him to continue to grow into that C.J. Gardner-Johnson mold, which I believe is what they see for him down the road, maybe even a better version of that. Someday we'll see. Maybe CJ's going to find this and come after me, but that's the goal with Brian Branch. And I think if you talk about Kirby Joseph, if you got to Melifonwu, you've got really versatile, young, aggressive, ball-hawking football players who are now not afraid. Everybody across the board. There's not going to be any fear back there. The Lions were one of the best teams against the run last year. If they can just get that thing up a little bit on the pass defense, doesn't have to be outstanding, just be confident with it, you're going to see a huge difference. I think this is a really good pick, really good use of resources for it, to get two starters in the top 70 there. Great stuff.